across the board. But yeah, you know, Amnesiac was kind of surprised. So even going into the series before game 1 started, he was feeling comfortable. We are going to game 3 now. Amnesiac rocking with the Zoo and Pavel on his Rogue.
Amnesiac here deciding to hold on to Voidwalker Knife Juggler, and this is a nuance to Zoo that, you know, some people don't pick up on until they're hundreds of games into the deck, where people will just keep an opening curve, but you need to decide, especially when you play as many 1-drops there is in the list as these days, you can very much mulligan for specific 1-drops that you want, not just keeping a pure curve. So this keep from Amnesiac is a deliberate statement that he wants the Voidwalker in his opening, and this addition to the deck, the Swashbuckler, might just have a big part in that.
Yeah, even having, like, you know, 2 Swashbucklers make it even more, well, twice as likely to draw into them anyway. And, you know, a bit of an early game, something we saw out from a Handsome Guy, sort of really started going with the more early game in the Road to start keeping up with the early tempo plays from some other classes. But Amnesiac is just going to follow up with his Dart Peddler. But the Possessed Villager seems pretty good to me.
It does, yeah, but this hand from Pavel is just coming together beautifully. He has Backstab SI, he has the coin, he has a variety of combo activators with the other 1-mana Swashbuckler in his hand right now. This is always a concern for you as the Zoo deck, you know, having an SI target on the board when Rogue gets the coin in the matchup. Amnesiac didn't have any way to play around it. He played the weaker threat out of the 2/2s and the Dart Peddler, accounting for this exact scenario. But now the Abusive Sergeant might have just bailed him out of trouble, at least for one turn.
Yeah, Pavel choosing not to use the backstab and clear up the whole board there against the Zoo, but it's going to be enough. Abusive Sergeant does help the Voidwalker clear up, and this is looking pretty good now for Amnesiac. The double Possessed Villager with a follow-up of double Knife Juggler if required to do the trades and get them juggles going.
Sacrificial Pact picked up from the Swashbuckler. Will we see that have an impact later on?
It's a pretty good way to kill a Doomguard, I've heard.
Tell me more. Knife Juggler number 2 comes down. There is a lot of knives to be thrown out here, but he's just going to trade it out. The aggression is ramping up, and now Pavel's decision to hold back on the backstab is looking a lot more promising. He knows there are high priority targets to take care of in this deck with the backstab, so he are now able to at least deal with one of these Knife Jugglers, but despite the coin SI start from Pavel, Amnesiac has fought his way back onto this board, and that Abusive Sergeant pickup was absolutely key to being able to maintain his board dominance.
Yeah, the SI7 agent would have just ran rampant if that was not the case. But what's interesting to me here is Pavel has a Pit Lord, not something you really want to be able to play versus a Zoo deck, which is very aggressive. And Rogue kind of struggles with its life total in general. There's not many running heals anymore. Soulfire being used to clear up some of the board. Imagine we're going to see a trade. Fan of Knives would absolutely destroy Amnesiac at the moment.
Yeah, but Amnesiac, one of the best players I've ever seen reading opposing hands in this situation. So he will just be going through his mind right now, logging every read he has on every card in his opponent's hand, and just trying to figure out whether he can be aggressive in this spot. I think 99.9% of the time, that trade would always happen. But I think this is perhaps a key difference between him and Pavel is that Pavel has a little bit of a tendency to snap play in that situation, whereas maybe Amnesiac is using that extra time just to squeeze out a better play. And it's good to see decision-making get rewarded, right?
Yeah, it seemed to work out pretty well from Amnesiac, as Fan of Knives was the card drawn. And now Pavel is in a rough situation. He can just play the Azure Drake, but he knows pretty much just dies, as well as more development from Amnesiac the following turn. He's going to go for the Fan of Knives into, no doubt, the hero power. The prep being drawn the wrong way around to a certain extent, which is a little bit further ahead. If he could get Azure Drake prep and Fan of Knives off, that would have been so much better for them. But he does just leave the Direwolf on the board now.
Yeah, but it does mean now that Pavel has Auctioneer and a prep in his hand that he does need to cycle through his deck quickly, pick up some power cards, get the damage through, because if Pavel is allowed time here, he can start to get a grip back on proceedings. But with only the prep in his hand right now, along with that Sacrificial Pact, which is not looking too promising, he doesn't have too high
Amnesiac's been playing around it very well.
He's played around Sacrificial Pact perfectly by not drawing any demons.
Yeah. But this draw is going to be upon a second Silverware Golem. Zero reason not to tap here. Even if you get a Doomguard, that Silverware Golem is going to hit the board. Gets the Peddler instead. Oh, another Abusive.
Abusive is just damage in this situation. It's a straight up flip between whether he wants to take the Abusive and push damage right now, also limits his board development because of course he can't play the Golem as well on top of that, or whether he wants a more resilient minion in the form of the Void Walker. But it looks like he is going to take the Abusive, but now the secondary branch on the tree, he's actually just going to go for maximum board presence right now, hold the Abusive back for some follow-up damage.
Yeah, I think after seeing the Fan of Knives as well, you're feeling, pretty confident that there just won't be a follow-up one. You can get the minions down now, and there almost certainly will be a minion for the Abusive Sergeant to buff next turn, and this is just setting up lethal for Amnesiac. Pavel has to do some work some wonders here to stabilize in this game now.
Yeah, and there is still damage to come, and despite you pointing out Sacrificial Pact, beautiful answer to a Doom Guard, doesn't do much good if they just rip that Doom Guard, hit you in the face with it, and you are dead. Yeah,
unfortunately, you cannot play cards after the game has ended. Cannot recover health once you've hit 0. But even not seen any in Gang Boss or anything like that, which, Sac Pack would be even, really great against. So this has not been working out for Pavel. His Swashbuckler is not getting the cards he needed. There is going to be 5 power left on the board. 2 more from the Abusive Sergeant. There are many draws left for Amnesia that could just win this game outright. Double Abusive Sergeant.
There's a Doom Guard
as well. Fist pump from Amnesiac. And this is shaping up to be a very fast set indeed as he makes this 3-0 so far versus Pavel.
Everything is coming together right now for Amnesiac. He is playing extremely well. Take nothing away from that, but he is